Hello and welcome to the Autocar Show. This week we have a very special car. A car that has achieved cult status in India and now everyone's waiting for the new model. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the all-new Swift. Now when you look at it, you wonder what's new. In fact, it looks so much like the older one that it's hard to believe that every body panel is new. Suzuki has played safe by not tampering with the proven formula. The question is, have they played it too safe? Let's find out. The Swift may look more or less unchanged, but it's grown considerably, and Suzuki's latest hatchback is bigger than its predecessor in every dimension. Though the width and height have increased only marginally, length is up by 90 mm and the wheelbase has been stretched too by a very useful 50 mm. It looks very modern and fresh despite the familiarity of the shape. It's a tribute to the original design which has stood the test of time. The nose is characterized by the same swept-back lights, but they are much larger and extend further back into the body. Again, the new grille is remarkably similar to the old cars but subtly cuts into the leading edge of the bonnet. The front intake is more prominent, the bumpers are a bit more sharply cut, moved to the side, and the changes include bigger and more bulging wheel arches that add to the Swift stance, with the familiar blackened A-pillar which contrasts nicely with the body. The rear tail lamps stretch further along the length of the car and come with clear inset panels which differentiates them from the all-red clusters of the original Swift. The most noticeable change perhaps is in the tailgate, which has a distinctive overhang above the number plate. The space in the rear seat has always been one of the weak points of the Swift. Now in the new car, it's been addressed to some extent. You definitely get more knee room, there's better headroom, and the rear squab or the seat base, that's a lot more generous as well. But compared to the competition, especially cars like the Toyota Lever, this car really isn't spacious enough. And these tiny windows over here just add to that cooped up feeling. Boot space isn't generous either. A 204-litre capacity is small by today's premium hatchback standards, and it looks it when you open the electrically released tailgate. The front seats are very generous and have a sportier design with more contours, but Suzuki hasn't managed to lift cabin quality substantially with the new Swift. The plastics don't feel greatly improved, and the all-black insides, relieved only marginally with the use of silver plastic trim, continues to exude a gloomy ambience as before. However, with Indian customers showing a strong preference for beige interiors, we wouldn't be surprised if Maruti offered a lighter, more cheerful interior trim for the Indian market. The dashboard design is much tidier and sharper looking. The V-shaped center console is a design theme that's also present in the Kizashi and works quite well. The new instrument dials are superb with increments highlighted by red-lit glass-like markers as on the Honda City. The dashboard is quite functional too, offering more storage space than before. You get a useful bin on the top of the dash, and there's a slot just above the glove box to store loose stuff. The central cubbyhole is deeper and door pockets too are more generous. The all-new steering wheel feels nice and chunky, as do the steering mounted buttons which have a nice tactile feel. A lot of the switchgear is new and feels a lot better, but some parts still get carried over, like the power window cluster. The gear lever as well is all too familiar and a carryover from previous Suzukis. Well, the only thing that's carried over from the older cars are the pair of engines. You get the same 1.2K series motor and the Fiat-derived 1.3 diesel. So performance levels for both engines pretty similar to the older car. But you do get that little extra bit of refinement. The low-end torque on the K-Series engine is pretty weak, and you really need to cane it to get it to perform. It works best after 4000 RPM and whizzes to its 6002 RPM redline without any fuss. This is one of the smoothest and most refined 1.2 litre units around. I'm driving the 1.3 diesel right now. Performance pretty adequate. It's got a strong enough mid-range, so enough pep between 2000-4000 RPM, good for overtaking. A little bit of turbo lag which makes you use the gears a bit, but really this engine is pretty good. With the Indian market leaning heavily towards diesel, the 1.3 DDIS motor is going to be the preferred engine of choice. It promises to be as fuel efficient as before, and in terms of running costs, the Swift diesel will be very hard to beat. When you drive the Swift, the first thing you realize that it feels a lot more grown up than before. It feels a lot more stable at high speeds. The ride is that much more compliant. The steering more positive, more responsive, but you still get that little bit of vagueness around the straight ahead position. The new Swift cruises at high speeds with a newfound air of confidence. It's less prone to getting tossed around and soaks up bumps even on the 16-inch low-profile tires quite impressively. The higher sidewall of the India spec tires will offer even more cushioning, so I expect the new Swift to have one of the plushest rides in its class. The new Swift addresses many of the flaws of the older car and yet hangs on to its cheeky character and desirability. The new model is bigger, better, more refined and feels a lot more grown up. But we can't help thinking that Suzuki could have and should have made much more of a jump in key areas like cabin space and interior quality. But assuming that Maruti prices the new Swift very competitively, we have no doubt it's going to set a new benchmark in this segment. And looking at the way the sales have been going for the old model, the new one is all set to start off where the old one has left off, which is right at the top.